We'll call this meeting back into order. We are in case number 03-22, which is an open case for us. I guess we're opening it. And we don't have any witnesses, but I do have some emails that I want to put into the record regarding this case. To request a variance from the Holden Beach Zoning Code of Ordinance, Chapter 157, Section 157.060D3, to encroach into the front yard setback measure 25 feet from the property line located at 130 Charlotte Street, Holden Beach, North Carolina. We have emails from the person who is bringing this appeal to us, the request to us. On, I want to make sure that everybody understands this, that Robbie Cohen wrote this email and said, we canceled our request weeks ago. And then before that, the email that went out to him from Megan said, I just wanted to reach out to let you guys know that the Board of Adjustment meeting was recessed to Wednesday, May the 25th at 1 o'clock. Please let me know if you have any questions. And his answer was, we canceled our request weeks ago. And then he sent another email back and said, I guess our attorneys didn't advise y'all. I'm very sorry. So what is the pleasure of this board? That we accept he's
He's basically canceling his
canceling.
request.
He's canceling
Yeah.
his request.
Okay,
yeah.
so we're going to accept his cancellation
Yeah.
on this request. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have opened and closed this case. And now we're at case number 04-22 to request an appeal from the enforcement and interpretation of Chapter 95, Section 9505E, and Chapter 157, Section 157.060D7B, located at 901 Ocean Boulevard West, Holden Beach, North Carolina. Any witnesses here for that case, please rise and come forward and let's put your left hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly swear to affirm
to tell the truth and the whole truth,
the truth and the whole truth,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you. So I guess the first witness to come up and talk to us would be you, if you don't mind, and you can talk into that microphone. I think it's on.
It should be on.
It should be on.
There we go. Good afternoon. I'm Louis Galite, and my wife and I own the home at 901 Ocean Boulevard West, and I'm here to appeal the decision that was made to require me to remove a driveway that I reported to replace a badly cracked driveway. So on March 7th, I hired someone to remove the driveway, and on March 14th, he poured a new driveway. And on March 16th, I received a letter stating that I was in violation of Section 95 and Section 115 of the town's ordinances. So as I said, I'm here to appeal that decision. Not disputing the regulation. I understand it. I understand the need for it. I understand that we have a stormwater problem on the island, and this is a way to mitigate that. But I'm hoping that there's a common sense solution that will allow me to keep my newly poured driveway, which again replaced a badly cracked driveway. If not, it will be a very expensive mistake for me. I spent $8,500 to have the old driveway taken out and the new driveway poured. I will have to spend another $4,500 to have the brand new driveway taken out and rock put down, and I will lose a week's worth of summer rental, which will cost me about $4,800. So all in, I will have $18,000 in a new stone driveway, if I said if we can't if we can't find a resolution that makes sense for everybody. So if you will, I hope you'll give me a couple of minutes to explain how I ended up sitting here today. My wife and I have owned the house since 2013, and we came down in February to do our spring cleaning. And when we showed up, you know, I said, "Man, Kathy, that driveway looks terrible. We're going to have to do something." And you know, I try to keep the property properly maintained, and the cracks had become a problem, and it was starting to sag in the center. So when I got up the next morning and went for a run around the neighborhood, I took a look at up and down Ocean Boulevard, and you know, looked at who had what, because I hadn't really paid a whole lot of attention. And I saw that there were, you know, the majority were stone, but there were a number that were cement. And I prefer the cement. The stone tends to, you know, get out into the street continually and have a problem with weeds. And so wasn't really sure what to do, but I called a handyman that I've been using since 2018. I actually thought he was a contractor, but he's not. And so I texted him and I said, "Hey, I need to do something with the driveway. Can you give me a price on each?" And he gave me the pricing, and I said, "Well, what would you recommend?" And he said, "Well, if you're going to sell it, I would go to gravel. If you're going to keep it, I would redo the cement." And so I thought, well, that sounds like a reasonable advice, and so decided to do the cement. Had obviously no idea that there was a regulation on the books that if you replace a cement driveway, that you had to put down a permeable substance. And again, I understand the reason for that, but I had no idea. I've been to the Holden Beach website, and you know, it states on the homepage that there's a permit required for building a structure or plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical wiring, but nothing about a driveway. So unless I would have dug very deeply into the town's regulations, I wouldn't have found that. I also went to the Brunswick County website, and there's not a permit required if it's under $15,000, and you don't need a licensed contractor unless it's under $30,000. So again, I didn't dig deeply into the regulations, but a cursory look would not have helped me to change this decision. In hindsight, obviously, I will call the town, and if I do anything like this again, I certainly will call the town to make sure that I'm not in violation. But it was, you know, it was an honest mistake, and will be a very, very expensive mistake for me. I'm willing to look at installing any kind of drainage that may help if that's an option. My house has rain gutters, and so the only rainwater that flows into the street is what hits directly on the sidewalk. The rain gutters are down the side into the yard, so there's no issue other than that. And I would also ask you to consider that I didn't install a new driveway. I'm replacing the existing one, so there is no net change to the amount of permeable surface on my property. And I also think it's important to consider, and will be a bit difficult for me to reconcile if you make me tear the driveway up, that the town is getting ready in September to, you know, to pave over 6 miles of Holden Beach Boulevard, and that will represent 325,000 square feet of impermeable surface on Holden Beach Boulevard. Don't get me wrong, I'm 100% behind the bike lanes. I want to do whatever we can to improve the island, but it just seems, as I said, really difficult for me to reconcile that my 2,000 square feet of cement are going to make a huge difference compared to the 325,000 square feet of new impermeable surface that's getting ready to go down. I also have a question. I don't know if the rules and regulations are different. I guess this would be for you, Tim. I noticed that the River's Edge Beach Club, which is next to the general store, which was recently built, has a cement parking area out front. So I don't know if the rules are different for businesses than they are for private homes. But again, it seems a little difficult for me to reconcile. And of course, I've made an honest mistake. I got bad advice from someone whom I trusted and had used for a number of years in the past. And you all as residents here know that it's difficult to get good contracted help here on the island. I certainly would never replace the concrete again if that, if it happens that I get to a point that I would. But I guess in conclusion, I was given bad advice. I made a mistake, an honest mistake. After some cursory due diligence, there was nothing that would have led me to make any different decision. And it will be, as I said, a very, very expensive penalty for me to have to tear up the new concrete. So I would ask that you accept my appeal and allow me to keep the concrete project.
You've got parts. Part number one is to keep appealing 95.05. You can't give a variance for the regular order, but you can accept his appeal to, but it has to be that we interpret it improper, 95.05. That's the part that allows it. 157.060D7B requires y'all to find those conditions which are required for a variance. So you have to understand this. And I'm not sure if the applicant understands that 95.05 is in the right of way, it belongs to the DOT. You were never allowed to have anything in there regardless prior to or before, and you're not in control of that. So you may lose that anyway when you start doing something other than determining the DOT has responsibility for that. As far as allotting a percentage of stormwater to take the place of this, that would probably be, you could probably use that, except for this ordinance is not about stormwater. It's actually excluded itself from the stormwater in the fact that he's probably, because of where he's at, he's not exceeding his 30%. But all those houses don't exceed their 30%, and they're not allowed to have anything like that in the front rear setbacks that as to what is done there. Now, I think what you have to ask yourself is that, which leaves you with deciding whether or not we've erred with 95.05E and whether or not he meets the criteria for a variance under the statutory law. So that's where you're at now. We contend, we actually agree with him. He said that it's not allowed. What he did was not allowed. He testified to that. So we agree to that. It's not allowed. But whether he meets the criteria for a variance, that is your decision based on the guidelines from the statute.
And we don't have a 4 or 5 vote here today. So we really couldn't rule.
You could do the majority for the 95.05.
Yes, we can do that. We've discussed that. But we would have to, I guess, table a decision.
And as the administrative director, I ceased all penalties when he applied for a variance.
Okay, good.
And our intentions are, and always has been, it's our policy that once the board rules, whether it's next month or whenever we can rule, but whenever the board rules that if they rule in his favor, of course, there's no fee. If they rule against him, then if he acts within a certain period of time as established by the department, then we usually waive those fees, because he's going to end up with a $4,500 penalty one way or the other, and you don't want to throw salt in the wound. So, not being able to make a decision today, it only allows him to keep it longer if it's not a variance, or, you know what I mean, or causes him no more harm if it's the other way. So, But 9505 is, regardless of how you find that, he's in the DOT right away.
Right. I understand that totally, and he does as well. I think you do.
No, I'm
understand.
not sure actually.
So
That-
being in the,
That
ni-
portion of 9505 is talking about that portion of the right of way where nothing, where we don't allow that, if there gets took up, we can't put it back. Well, see, that portion's in there because it's the right of way portion. And the right of way belongs to the NCDOT. The road in front of your house is NCDOT, which means that they have full control of that right of way. We can write rules as far as landscaping plans and that kind of stuff, but it's only because it's in the town, and the DOT comes through and bulldozes all that stuff.
And how far does the right-of-way extend?
Typically, I think it's like 10 feet off the edge of the pavement usually, but it's on your site plan. It shows where your property is actually at, where it begins in comparison to the edge of the road.
So what you said earlier is, even if I were allowed to keep the cement, I would likely have to pull up that, what's in the right-of-way.
Yeah, you don't have a choice unless they say we erred in our, yeah, they would have to rule on that, they can rule on that now to say whether we erred or not. They've got to determine that we somehow didn't interpret that section right. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is that they do find that we erred, you're allowed to lose it anyway. It's going to become something else that brings money.
so what you're saying is the town has no control over that?
No, we do.
That's a state.
We
That's
do
a
have
state.
control over, we can write rules for stuff in the right of way, but that is the DOT's right of way, and only because we have a letter of agreement with them. If the DOT comes through there and decides that they don't like anything that you put in that right of way, it's their easement.
So ultimately, it's the state's property.
That's right.
They have the ultimate decision over it, yes.
Yeah.
So the bike path is going to be there. Now, the bike path is going to be 7 feet on that side of the road. So if you have a road that's theoretically 60 feet across, is that correct? And then the right-of-way comes another 10 feet. So you're looking at, you would have 40 feet from the center line of the road to go over, which would be DOT.
Well, it all determines, because sometimes the right of way is not, the road's not in the center of the right of way.
Mhm, that's right.
That's what I'm just saying, especially down there where he's at, that's where it starts getting
Yes,
crooked.
that's where it starts
The
getting
900
tricky.
block is where it starts getting crooked, and if I remember correctly, he may have more on his side. He may have more right of way in his front yard on his side, but I could be wrong, so don't hold me to it.
So the 7 feet on the ocean side, which I read on the website, and 3 feet on the other side is just kind of a blanket.
No, it's right, and I assume that it's that on the other side because it gets crooked down there.
It
You lose
depends on
ground
the
one side.
surveyors and when they get their surveys
Actually
out there,
wrong.
trying to get it straightened out in that area.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's probably
and-
on the map right
and-
there.
And Rhonda just brought up the fact that we have heard that the road may be getting ready to be moved somewhere this week, and Alan is pushing to get that corrected. And
Yes, he is.
Right now, I think there's more right of way on the right-hand side than there is on the left-hand side. Less on the right.
There's less on the left and more on the right, because the setback off the pavement on the right down there is way back. It
So I
is.
may lose less than 7 feet?
May lose.
I think you got that wrong.
No.
I think I had it right to start off with. I think there's more on the left hand than there is on the right hand.
I think there is too.
Because on the right hand, the houses are non-conforming because the 25 feet
Right.
is getting too close to the road.
Okay, you may be right. Why would I ever argue with you, Tim?
Well, I might be wrong, because I'm just trying to think of something. But what I'm saying is that, you know, that's where you're at. And the fact that you can't rule today is not gonna change his.
No.
It's only gonna postpone whether he.
Well,
gets
we're gonna
variance or
rule
not.
on the 9505, I think.
So I have a question for you, please. The handyman that you chose, did he choose the concrete person? There are generally several concrete trucks that service the island. I would think that those people know the code and the rules, and that they should have told you that you cannot put a concrete drive back in. Years ago, prior to sewers, we could have concrete drives. And then if you, I mean, you said you built your house or you bought your home in 2013. Okay, sewers were put in 06, 07 in that area. But if you look at the homes, you see many houses where the sewer line was on one side of the driveway, and then you see this cut, and there's stone in between, and none of us were allowed to put back the driveway, even for that little bit, once sewers were put in.
That's because not only does it operate as the DOT right of way, it operates as our utility right of way, and that's why 9505 was written, so that we wouldn't be ripping out concrete unnecessarily. When you put stuff in the right of way, you can put it there typically, but it becomes your responsibility, and the town has no obligation, it's even written in the rule, it's written in any right of way rule. But you can put stuff in, but whoever it belongs to, don't have to put it back, they got to move it. And so the town went a step further and said, don't put nothing in there, you know what I mean, because you're not getting it back if you do. And that was to protect the citizens from having to pay to replace stuff that should have been there.
Jack, you have any questions?
No?
Let me read the regulation. All existing concrete within the right-of-way that is removed for any reason cannot be replaced. There's only one way to interpret that.
That's 95.
That's 95E, yes, 9505E. That's what he cited for. So there's no question of what it says. So what is the pleasure of the board on that ruling?
May I?
Yes, you may, certainly.
I guess, obviously, I'm a newcomer to this process, and don't do this on a regular basis, but I had assumed that it was the role of the Board of Adjustment to interpret the rulings that were made and to try and understand extenuating circumstances and do what was in the best interest of the town and the citizens of the town.
No, our opinion does not matter. We have to rule on the facts. And the facts are what they are stated. Anybody else have anything else they want to say? Because obviously we cannot rule on the variance.
No, because
We don't have enough here. Okay. What's the pleasure? No,
So-
it's in front of you.
So we go ahead and vote
Yes, we're going to vote
on the 95.
on the
I don't
9505E.
have a thing of,
You don't have a thing. Well, you will have to have that. You have a pen? Okay, so he is appealing, he is asking us to say that the town did not follow this regulation. So a vote for would be in his favor, a vote against would be in the favor of the town. Interpretation is the way I understand it.
and it was 9505.
95.
95.05E.
Where are my minutes? There. It's case number 4-22. Okay, but it's majority, 3 of 5 are voting against his request.
That's only on 95.
That's only on the regulation, the regulatory part. Now, so far as the request for a variance, and it was confusing to me because on his Board of Adjustments application form, he asked for a permit relief request. And then he filled out the form for a variance. So there's 2 different requests here. So now we have to, I guess, table the request for the variance until we have a full board. And you would not, we have this recorded, so we can replay the recordings. of his case when we hear it again, or when we vote.
So what is the decision to be made on the second part of this?
So whether or not, well, the second part, they can decide whether to grant you a variance and allow you to keep that agreement. We can go down there and tell you what that right-of-way section is. But, depending on, the other board members and how to vote there, if they choose to grant you the variance, we'll do it Tuesday. If not, then we'll send you another letter giving you X amount of time to remove it, and we'll, at that time, we'll also explain to you that the fees.
Our decision will be in writing, and you'll get the decision.
But what I'm saying is you'll get something about relieving you with those fees and giving you X amount of time, a reasonable, very reasonable amount of time. If that happens, if that happens. You could get variance.
Well, I guess I would like to just request, and I'd like it in the minutes, that given the fact that I've now been here twice and devoted 16 hours travel time to do so, that the Board of Adjustment grant my appeal for the variance. I'm sorry, but I'm extremely frustrated by this entire process. And not responsible for the other board members, but I called 3 times to make sure we were on. And it's not fair. And I came twice to make my appeal to the board in person, and I'm again telling you, we can't make a decision. It's not right. And the hardship, which is part of the variance appeal, to me, just is well beyond what I do.
Your
So I would
comments are,
request that you grant my appeal for variance.
your comments are noted, and we have heard you. So case number 4-22, the request for the variance has been postponed due to lack of our board consisting of 5 members present. And we can't choose another date yet, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I know that.
If we recess, we have to have a date, but I don't think if we postpone a decision, I think we can have up to a month to make a decision. So we have to meet again sometime within a month. I believe I read that in our regulations.
So it could be the date of our regular meeting, a
Yeah,
normal
within
meeting,
the
the third
month.
Wednesday in June.
Yes.
Monday.
Third Monday.
Third Monday in June.
Yes.
Could be, that would be, that would fall, get you within inside the guidelines.
Yeah, we get us inside the 30 days. So we'll postpone that decision, and now we'll move on to item number 4, old business.
I'm sorry, could I ask one more question?
I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Tim, if the variance appeal is not granted, is there any way that it would be possible to allow me to the end of the rental season?
Absolutely. We can, like I said, we'll give you, an order to remove. We always give, enough time for folks to be able to handle those matters, but they're not always easy. So we would take time and make the contract and make it all done. And we never, most of the time, I usually give them 60 days and then 30 days extension. So we'll work with you.
Rhonda, you had something you needed to say?
I don't think you called out what was using,
Yes, I did. It was 3 of 5, voted 3 of
She
5.
said it was unanimous.
The 3 who were here were unanimous, but we have to say, I guess, 3 of 5 members voted against his appeal, but in favor of the regulation as being interpreted correctly.
One more clarification, I don't know if you're aware or not, but for land use, you have to have, you always have to have a majority, you know, so that you can find it as well, so you can enforce that.
I have a question. This would be to you, Tim. Is there a way that to take up a section of the driveway, not to have to take everything out, and then that some permeable substance could be put in, and so that part of that's
Well,
to
and
alleviate
that's what I
the
alluded
expense?
to the other, the real difficulty in trying to assist him, which we would have done, is the fact that this particular ordinance does not allow for any consideration for impervious area. If he just had to follow A, which is the 30% rule, he has more than enough room to probably have a, but the forefathers of the town decided that if you did that, it had to be, that's why all the new homes down there could meet the B and still have a
Right.
full concrete in the front yard.
Mhm.
But the town does not allow it under all of it. So it's not about stormwater percentages. I don't know what it's about, to tell you the truth, but it ain't about stormwater percentages. It must be about flow on the road. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Because what happens is regardless of, what happens is that when we get a hard rain, typically most of them flow into the road. And then there's just nowhere for it to go, we try to fix it, that's what they're trying to find. And I'm sure that that's come up more than once. I know that we get that question a lot about having paved driveways, because I know some of it does, and no one really to relinquish the fact that all that water ends up in the river.
But you could put down a permeable substance in the driveway
I doubt
as
he wants
opposed to the
I doubt
gravel.
he wants to,
Take up what he's got and put that expensive stuff in.
Right.
and we don't allow that now anyway.
Oh, you don't?
I quit allowing impervious concrete a while back because it requires a maintenance agreement, and when it fills up, it's a concrete.
Oh, okay.
It requires a maintenance agreement that you have, and then you have to go report it at the county. You know what I mean? It requires a stormwater engineer, and then it has to be monitored and followed in the town stuff, so to keep up with 2200 stuff.
So has that been incorporated into the ordinance,
What?
that you don't allow the permeable?
Yeah, all
concrete?
impervious products have to be approved by me.
Oh,
So
okay.
he doesn't approve them.
So you don't approve it, okay.
Well, can you imagine what would happen if I did, and they started flooding the road?
Yeah.
There's more people hating, there can be more people hating.
So we're having an open discussion, and I hope this will benefit some of your doubts about our process. But somewhere in my mind, Rhonda, and you might help me with this, I have that word moratorium on concrete driveways. Was that ever a part of this town's
There was
action?
probably a moratorium before it became a rule. That's usually what you
Yeah,
do,
it's a
is you
rule.
implement a moratorium until you can get the rule. A board will say, we don't want that no more. They implement a moratorium, and then they have that amount of time before they can implement the rule. And that's what you remember.
I do remember that, and I remembered that there would be no more concrete
In the
driveways
driveway.
on
Yeah.
anywhere. So now when I go back and research the ordinances, I just see in the right-of-way. So that's what I was trying to get to the bottom of that in my research for this meeting, for the meetings we've had, and I just can't find that anywhere. So it is allowed, except for, if it doesn't exceed the 30%, it is allowed on the property, but not in the setbacks and right-of-way. Okay. Okay, that's, clears me up. Anything else, okay?
Does that mean that I could take out the part that's in the setback and keep the rest?
We will,
What are you talking about?
no. I was just saying, the
I missed
30%,
something.
the 30% rule.
Yeah.
What I was asking, if we can have concrete driveways anywhere.
Not in the front yard, The way it reads, the front yard, the rear yard, and side yard adjacent to a street right of way shall be gravel, grass, or an approved pervious product.
What is that ordinance that you're reading?
It's the
Well,
one
that-
that was quoted in.
157.060D7B.
All I saw was setbacks.
You're probably looking at the old ordinance, so let me find it.
I
And
mean,
that's
I-
why I question the approved
Yeah.
pervious product is being,
Let me look at the old, see, we have.
so why does that say
we
that?
have
It's 157.060-7B. It's in the old one too, same way.
Yeah, it is, it's the same. It's
That's
same
the old,
thing.
that's the ordinance.
Driveways, parking lots, parking spaces, parking areas, patios, and other similar areas and surfaces located in the front yard setback, rear yard setback, and side yard setbacks. The word setbacks are here.
Adjacent to a street, right
Not
of way
not outside
shall
the
be
setbacks,
gravel,
inside the
Gravel,
setbacks.
Gravel,
Or-
your front yard setback is 25 feet from the front property
And
line.
and this is just talking about what's in the setbacks and what is in the
Setbacks.
right-of-way.
That's what we're talking about, setbacks.
Yes,
This driveway's in the front yard setback.
I understand, but not all of it. And that's his
I don't know,
question.
I have not seen a survey until we could see a survey, we wouldn't know where the property line was.
Did you have a survey before you poured the concrete, sir?
I did not pour the concrete.
Well, who did?
There when I bought the house.
Okay,
But the new concrete.
the new
So, I
concrete.
did not have it.
We would require them to give us a survey if it applies for a permit.
And then.
So
we could verify.
the bottom,
We determine that.
we can't get into that because we'll have 5 members here. We're discussing his 157 appeal to the ordinance.
No, you,
But we can talk about it.
So I'm confused now, that I thought I had understood it before. So what we're saying now is the first part of a driveway, let's say you have a driveway that's 75 feet long, well, 45 feet long, and the 25-foot
okay, let me
setback.
clear this up for you. If you, I know exactly what you're getting ready to say. If you've got at his house, let's use his house in case that's the case, in case this is the case. At his house, if he's got 75 feet in the front yard, okay, and he hasn't already exceeded his 30%, if 20 feet of that is outside of the setback, okay, and between that and the right-of-way, okay, then technically, if he's not exceeding the 30%, right, he'd be able to keep it. We've had this discussion numerous times.
And I think that's where our
Okay.
problem comes with
I
the
understand that
neighbors
now.
and the people who complain and the people who want to see no more concrete on the beach,
Because that's what it says
Mhm.
in the ordinance.
is that they're thinking the whole thing, not just in the setbacks or in the right-of-way.
Well, I'm not.
Uh,
It's pretty, if you ride down through there, you'll notice that all the new houses, all of them, don't have anything.
No,
That's
okay.
exactly right.
It's all
All the
gravel.
new houses don't have it.
They're usually using, they don't have it, why they don't have it? They don't have it.
Except that mine was already there.
Well, and that gets to if you've got a non-conformance, which that's what that was, anything inside the setback would have been non-conforming, which means that if he'd applied for any type of permit to do anything that would have added to that non-conformance, he would have been denied until he removed the non-conformance. If at any time you ever remove the non-conformance, it's now what? It's now conforming, and you can't issue a permit for a non-conformance. The fact that you remove it and then put it back does not negate the fact that it became conforming. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir, of course.
If that's the case, then you add a timeline to it, and I had a house there in 1776. It got tore down, burned down, it became conforming, and now I can put that same house back, whether regardless of whether it meets the criteria or not. It's not an argument. It's not an argument. We go through that all the time. You know, I had a deck, it blew down, you know what I mean, or we tore it down 10 years ago, now I'm put it back. Well, it's non-conforming when you tore it down. Thank you for coming to conform. You can't do that.
It's got to be rules and regulations.
In his particular case, he's asking for a variance.
To put it back into the
And
right-of-way.
we stipulated, he testified that that the rule was that if you took it out, you couldn't have it back. He stipulated that, that's why we didn't see.
That's right. Jack, come on,
Well,
ask a question. You just
I think
confused
we
us
beat this
up.
horse to death personally. If we're gonna move on the next part of this, we
We-
need to have the whole board.
That we can't move on it.
Well, we
No.
can't do it, so.
Discussions are out of order more or less at this point in time, you
I
think, except
that
for the
if We're
benefit
gonna have a
of,
discussion,
the
we should
owner.
have everybody here to hear it,
that's right.
that could
That's
vote on
right.
it. You know, we're just having conversation here now, and I think
Well, I haven't heard
the
anybody.
meeting should be called.
I think people are just trying to get clarification.
Yeah, we're trying to
Well,
clarify the
Everybody's trying to
issue.
understand the ordinance so they can
The
make a
ordinance
decision for the
itself.
cost of doing it.
Now can we go on to item number 6, old business? I have some old business. Case number 0222 from February 21, 2022. The case was postponed, and we've never had a resolution. And you might recall, this house was at 162 Ocean Boulevard West. The lady wanted to have a lift for her,
Oh, right.
for her father and her husband, who were both paralyzed, more or less. And it was decided that she could have this lift installed within the confines of her footprint, rather than being in a setback. Did she come back in and get a permit to do that, or are we still waiting for her?
Well, she admitted that it was actually a cargo lift, but she was asking for an elevator.
Yep, she
Yeah.
was asking for an elevator, but she
What
told the
happened
car
was
lift.
she stated that what she really wanted was an elevator.
And yet she requested she brought the plans in
permitted
for
the
a
cargo.
cargo lift.
Yes,
She tried to permit
exactly.
a cargo lift, but you couldn't issue it.
Right.
But you instructed her to come back with a request to put the elevator inside the footprint of the house, on the deck.
To my knowledge, she never followed up.
She never came back. So what do we do about this? This case is still open. We need to close it one way or the other.
Or did y'all make a ruling on it?
No, we postponed it until she decided what she was going to do.
First off, you need to go look at 162 to see
If they've not done
see if
anything.
they got a cargo lift or an elevator installed by permit.
I don't think so.
She seemed to be too honest.
She didn't. There's not been anything
That
put
was part
there.
of her problem, she was too honest. But she did. Yeah. Their problem, she was too honest.
Right.
Remember- You don't remember, that's what she said. She said, her problem shouldn't have been so truthful. That's what she said when she left.
That's right. Well, we can't, we'll still have to postpone that one again
Yeah.
to our next meeting. Is there any new business?
On that situation with the lift, is there a time frame that if we don't hear anything, that we can just dispose of it?
If you didn't rule, I think you didn't rule because her petition was inaccurate, because she was actually putting in an elevator instead of, she was asking for an elevator, was actually putting in a cargo lift, it was the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, so she wasn't asking, it wasn't accurate. In other words, there was no reason for you to rule when she wasn't doing what she actually said she was doing, when she was doing something.
So it automatically closes?
It automatically.
Okay. So we're just gonna mark that one
And
closed.
she can bring it back, because she still needs to bring it back.
She can bring it back.
Yeah, with a variance request for what she's actually doing.
But if she was
We
gonna put,
we talk about that every once in a while, me and Rhonda does, but typically it don't happen like that.
if she was gonna put in an elevator, like you said, through her porch floor, then she wouldn't need a variance. That would fall under
Then
your,
we just issue a building permit.
That's right.
right, you just issue a building permit.
That's why I didn't exactly what she was putting up.
That's the reason I was asking if she had been in and gotten a permit to do that.
Yeah, that was, I think that was the issue. She wanted, they were, I can't remember
They
exactly.
were saying it was per person, and it really truly was a cargo lift.
Yeah, all the documents she applied, well, to start off with, let's get, we're ahead. She did apply. we have to turn it down in order for it to end up,
Exactly.
for it to be a violation. So she actually made application. We turned it down because she wanted, we turned it down because she wants to start to live in the setback. If I'm not bad in the setback.
That's exactly
Then
right.
she got here and admitted that she was gonna use it for people to ride up and down. It's not a cargo lift, and we couldn't issue a permit, even if y'all approved it. That's what I told her. She needs to apply for an elevator. So she's probably looking into putting an elevator in the house, which didn't require a room. Tell me.
Anything else? Anything else you all need to say to us? Do I hear a motion we adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.